I'm Amar Singh Pradhan. Let's begin with the top stories this hour. Government endorses medical education bill despite protests from the main opposition. Dr. Casey refuses to give up hunger strike unless his demands are addressed. Province 2 still mired in abject poverty despite boasting of infrastructure and road facilities attributed to the abuse of a state budget. Instances of sexual abuse inside public vehicles alarming. Public rise demanding stern action against the culprits. And all eyes on Nepalese batsmen as Team Nepal take on UAE in the second one-day later this evening. Six people were killed when a bus carrying marriage procession was electrocuted after striking naked wires in Dhanusa yesterday evening. Dhanusa police has said that the bus carrying marriage procession was electrocuted at Dhanusa's Sabaila municipality. According to police, all the six deceased were killed on the spot. The marriage procession was returning from Sinduli's Dudhauli. The deceased have been identified as 9-year-old Akros Kuwar, 22-year-old Puja Adhikari, 35-year-old Resami Kuwar and 30-year-old Leela Adhikari. The identity of the two other victims has still not been confirmed. And let's move on to national political updates. The House of Representatives endorsed the disputed medical education bill despite continued protests from the main opposition Nepali Congress. The bill was sanctioned amid the chanting of slogans by Congress lawmakers in the parliament yesterday. The schedule to endorse the bill was blocked in the previous two meetings on the face of resistance from main opposition Nepali Congress. As soon as the meeting started yesterday, Congress lawmaker Puspa Bhushal vowed to obstruct the meeting unless the government kept the hospitals in the names of late Girija Prasad Koirala and Sushil Koirala under the federal government's jurisdiction. She also warned the ruling side not to act under the arrogance of the two-thirds majority and overlook the demands of fast unto death Dr. Govinda Casey. The Nepali Congress lawmakers then started picketing the rostrum while chanting slogans against the government. Speaker Krishna Bahadur Maura called Education Minister Giriraj Mani Pokhral to register the bill in spite of the continued protest from the opposition. However, none of the lawmakers deemed necessary to make any remarks on the bill. Speaker Maharaj then announced endorsement of the bill as it is. The next meeting of the parliament has been scheduled for the 31st of January, which is coming Thursday. Meanwhile, Dr. Govinda Casey has said that he would continue with his fast unto death, citing that the government endorsed the medical education bill by neglecting his demands. The Dr. Casey has also sought the Prime Minister's resignation, alleging the Premier of violating the agreements forged with them in the past regarding reforms in the medical education sector. Organizing a press meet earlier yesterday evening, Casey said that resistance initiated by him and his supporters would continue until the demands were addressed. Dr. Casey also accused the government of betraying him and the advocates of reforms of the medical sector in the country. Earlier, a 9-point agreement was forged between Dr. Casey with the initiative of Prime Minister K.P. Sharma Oli himself while breaking Casey's 15th round of hunger strike. Meanwhile, clashes occurred between the supporters of Dr. Casey and police outside the parliament building in Baneswar yesterday afternoon. The spontaneous group of people protested against the violation of agreements forged with Dr. Casey by the government. The scuffle followed after the police tried to stop the protesters. The protesters demonstrated outside the parliament building, citing that the government endorsed the disputed medical education bill despite widespread objections. The demonstrators also tried to enter the parliament building in a bid to hand over the copy of agreements forged with Dr. Casey to the lawmakers. Even as Dr. Casey has been on his 16th round of hunger strike, demanding reforms in the medical education sector, the ruling side, however, has claimed that his demands have been addressed. The Casey supporters have been insisting that the major issues raised by Dr. Casey in terms of medical education sector have not been addressed. Welcome back. Province 2 is mired in extreme poverty, although being the most accessible in terms of geography and being interconnected through the east-west highway with all the other provinces. The poverty in the province has turned alarming in recent time due to the sorry state of education and health facilities. This has mainly been attributed to the growing tendency of abusing the government's budget instead of spending it for the welfare of the targeted groups. As much as 20.4% of the country's entire population lives in Province 2. Among them, 28% are living in abject poverty. The provincial government had spent almost 50 million rupees in welcoming VIP guests and organizing lavish receptions, but it has hardly introduced any programs aimed at uplifting the livelihoods of the poor population. The province, however, ironically boasts of the country's biggest industrial corridor, advanced customs, the major transit, fertile lands, well-managed roads and airport. In spite of these aspects, the province lags behind in education and health facilities. The major reason behind it is the extreme abuse of the state coffers and the targeted populations being devoid of the benefits. Experts are of the view that the federal government should prioritize the poverty alleviation programs while moving ahead with the 15th National Plan, while it is also equally important to prevent the misuse of the budget allocated for the people of central, provincial and local levels. It has almost been confirmed that the Italian contractor of the Melamchi drinking water project, CMC, that ditched the project works is not going to resume operation. Given the scenario, the Melamchi Drinking Water Development Committee has requested the government to make immediate efforts to expedite the project works to ensure the water from the project reaches Kathmandu at the earliest. Deliberations over possible deployment of Nepal Army personnel is also underway if necessary. The committee has almost concluded that the project would not move ahead by the contractor company that has single-handedly led the project at the brink of conclusion. The anticipation has further been bolstered by the fact that the contractor company has not come to contact even after the government's warning. The contract would automatically get cancelled if company remains evading even until 3rd of February. As per the government officials, even loan provider Asian Development Bank has concluded that the remaining works would not be accomplished by CMC. In such a scenario, the project office has requested the government for arranging necessary measures to expedite the project's work. Going by the statement of the government's side, the contractor company CMC still owes more than 600 million rupees to the assistant contractor and workers. The government, meanwhile, has forwarded discussions over the possible deployment of Nepal Army for security purposes to avert any obstacles or untoward activities from the disgruntled sides until the project is accomplished. The matter, however, is yet to be finalized. The government had established a school at the Raute village to provide children from the Raute community education access. However, the number of enrollment of Raute children has been minimal. The marginalized indigenous Raute community has been living in Parsuram municipality, and the school next to their community was established to ensure their children get access to education. However, the number of students in the school from Raute community has been far less compared to those from the other communities. The government spends millions of rupees on an annual basis to encourage enrollment for children from marginalized and underprivileged communities. However, their programs have been ineffective in case of the Raute community, as dozens of school-going children are still out of school. Children from the Raute community have so far received education up to the 4th grade, and most of them are only found playing at their own homes during school hours. Likewise, parents prefer taking them to works instead of sending them to school. There are around 45 Raute families living in Ward number 4 and 12 of Parsuram municipality. None of the children from these communities have received higher secondary education.
विद्यालयमा बालबच्चा नपठाउने कापी कलम प्रायसो अलि कम हुने तिनीहरूको र सरसफाइमा पनि विशेष बालबच्चाहरूलाई ध्यान नदिने अब गए ठिक छ नगए ठिकै छ भन्ने किसिमको मानसिकताले गर्दाखेरि पनि बालबच्चाहरू प्रोपर राउटे जातिका बालबच्चाहरूको पठन पाठन धेरै कमजोर छ।
The Ministry of Education has invested millions to build schools building for routed children. However, the government's plans and programs have failed to produce any substantial results. This calls for the need to conduct an awareness program as well to instill the value of education in these communities. The misbehavior against women in public transport has never been a concern for many people. The victims themselves have not raised much alarm over the incidents. Amid slack police action against perpetrators, the cases of physical abuse to the level of sexual exploitation in public vehicles has been alarming. Some women reached the Office of Crime Branch under Nepal Police yesterday to report about these cases of physical abuse inside the public vehicles. The report filed by these women also includes a shameless case of abuse on behalf of a male passenger over a female recorded on a mobile.
यो अति असहाय नै भयो म सहनै सकेन किन त्यो केटीको ठाउँमा मलाई आफुलाई पनि राखेर हेरे मेरो दिदी बहिनी पनि राखेर हेरे कतिसम्म गर्न सकेको होला यो मान्छेले को धेरै नै गिरेको मान्छे हामी एउटा केटी मान्छे बोले हामी माथि पनि पर्न सक्छ हैन सहनै नसरे एकदम अन्याय हामी केटी माथि एकदम अन्याय भएको कारणले गर्दा आज हामी यहाँ आउन बाध्य भयौं.
The incident reveals to what extent women inside public vehicles are unsafe while perpetrators lurk in the office hours during morning and evening to take advantage of the crowded bus.
बलात्कारहरुको घटना हामीले एउटा कोठाभित्र जंगलमा सुनेको छौं तर पब्लिक गाडीमा आएर अब हामीले जे पनि हुन सक्छ है भनेर जस्तो दिल्ली केस भयो नि दिल्ली केसमा पनि गाडीमा पब्लिक रेप भयो कस्तो ब्रुटल्ली मारे नि त्यो मान्छे त्यस्तै पनि त हामीलाई उले थ्रेट गरेको नि त पब्लिक भेहिकलमा हामीले अब सचेत भएर बस्नु पर्यो.
There is now a rising call on public level to report such incidents of misbehavior against female passengers. And now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And the question is, what should be done to curb abuse of women in public vehicles? Your options are A, should be reported, B, tough laws and implementation, and C, monitored through technology. The voting for the question is on. Type any WS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. It is not only along the forest areas, the trend of encroaching the government land has increased in the urban region as well. And in this context, we had asked the residents of Kantipur what should be done and by whom to curb the encroachment of the public lands. Let's take a look at what they have to say.
Public voice.
स्थानीय जनप्रतिनिधिसँगको संगठन भए हुनाले प्रशासनले एकदमै कडा रूपमा चाहिँ नजानसम्म चाहिँ एक्सन नलिँदासम्म चाहिँ यो समस्या समाधान होला जस्तो मलाई लाग्दैन.
नगरपालिकाले पनि पहिले रोक्नुपर्ने सिडिओ रोक्नुपर्ने सरकारले रोक्नुपर्ने चीज हो. अब खास गरेर यो भत्काउँदा यो हंगामामा चिन्लाड मार फसाद हुने त्यसभन्दा त 1.5 करोड रुपैयाँ 10 फिटको लिएर 1.5 करोड लिने माथिल्लो तला नदिने तिनलाई.
शहरी विकास योजनाले हेर्ने अर्थात् नगरपालिकाले हेर्ने ठ्याक्कै चाहिँ एउटा नियम कानुन नबनिसकेको हुँदाखेरिमा अब यो अहिले अलि विवादित स्थितिमा छ.
प्रशासनले चासो नदेखाएपछि हामी जागेका हौं. हामीले खबरदारी गरेको हो. पहिलो चरणमा हामी नगर विकासको स्वामित्वमा रहेको यो जमिनको टुङ्गे हालम त्यसपछि कहाँ के छ व्यतिथिका विरुद्ध हाम्रो संगठन हामी युवा विद्यार्थी साथीहरू जम्मै संगठनहरुले यो भन्दा पूर्व पनि लडेका छौं र अझ पनि निरन्तर रूपमा व्यतिथिका विरुद्ध लड्ने हामी प्रतिबद्ध छौं.
यो चाहिँ 33 वर्ष 22 वर्षको जो यो चाहिँ लिज प्रक्रिया छ यसलाई तुरन्त खारिज गर्नुपर्छ.
सरकारले यसलाई हटाउने कुरामा पहल गर्दैन सरकारले यसलाई हटाउने कुरामा लाग्दैन भने हामी सम्पूर्ण नगरवासीहरू मिलेर यसलाई हटाउनु पर्छ.
स्थानीय प्रशासनका थुप्रै मान्छेहरूको जनप्रतिनिधिहरूको पनि यसमा तपाईको चाहिँ घर घरेलुहरू छ त्यो नामाङ्करण लिस्ट सहित हामीसँग छ.
राजनीतिक दलका व्यक्तिहरूको पनि मिलोमतो देखिएको अवस्थामा स्थानीय प्रशासन पनि अलि एक्सनमा आउन अलि गाह्रो मानेको.
And it's now time for sports update.
Sports news.
Nepal is taking on UAE in the second One Day International later today. The second match of the series, scheduled for 11:15 a.m. kickoff, is being played at Dubai's Global Cricket Ground. Following a 3-wicket loss in the first match yesterday, Nepal is trailing 1-0 in the 3-match series. Nepal therefore needs to chalk out a win in the match today to keep the series alive. Nepal could only manage 113 runs, which is Team Nepal's lowest total in a one-day international. The UAE batsmen had also struggled while chasing a paltry target set by Nepal. Following the loss, Nepalese skipper Paras Khadka said that the pitch was quite difficult for batting. Meanwhile, Nepal is likely to make a few changes in the playing 11 today. Nepal went down by 3 wickets in the first one-day match against UAE in the first tie of the 3-match one-day series. Binod Bhandari, Lalit Rajbangshi and Pawan Saraf had debuted for Nepal in the match played in Dubai. In the match played at ICC Global Academy ground, Nepal sent into bat first were bundled out for 113 runs as the Nepalese innings only lasted 33.5 overs. Sompal Kami was the top scorer for Nepal, scoring 30 runs in a dismal batting display. Navid and Amir Hayat shared 3 wickets for UAE, while Imran Haider picked 2 wickets. In reply, Nepalese bowlers kept pressure on UAE batsmen, picking up wickets at regular interval. At one stage, UAE had lost 7 wickets for 73 runs. Sandeep Lamichhane, Karan Kesey and Paras Khadka had picked up 2 wickets each to raise prospects of Nepalese victory. However, an unbeaten 43-run partnership between Amir Hayat and Imran Haider for the 8th wicket partnership took the host nation home. Hayat scored 24 runs while Haider made 20 to bury hopes of unlikely Nepalese win. And before we wrap up this morning news bulletin, here's a look at the top stories one more time. Government endorses medical education bill despite protest from the main opposition. Dr. Casey refuses to give up hunger strike unless his demands are addressed. Province 2 still mired in abject poverty despite boasting of infrastructure and road facilities attributed to the abuse of state coffers. Instances of sexual abuse inside public vehicles alarming, public rise demanding stern action against the culprits. And all eyes on Nepalese batsmen as Team Nepal take on UAE in the second one-day international later today. And those were our latest headlines. Stay with us for more news and entertainment on KTVSD. Good day.